Hey guys, welcome back to the Intimacy Liberation Army channel where we teach you how to date more, date better. I'm Delaet. I'm a dating coach for a lot of years, and today's topic is how to start training your dating resilience. I'm writing a book right now called Mental Toughness for Dating, and it's predicated on the fact that if you're going to get super successful at virtually anything, you got to be able to kind of bounce back from the bullshit that life throws at you and get back on the horse and moving towards your goals and having a clear understanding of who you are on the way through, so that you continue to uh, push forward towards what you actually want with the tools that you actually have, rather than lying to yourself and keeping yourself out of success. So when it comes to dating and maintaining a healthy relationship, resilience is a super essential quality. You have to keep going through all the inevitable frustrations, all the disappointments, all the problems that come along with dating and keeping a romantic relationship going and trusting somebody else and getting them to keeping them happy and having them keep you happy. It's the only way to find and keep a partner that who can really meet your needs. If you don't know what you want, if you don't know what you need, you don't know who you are, it's really difficult to be able to communicate that, negotiate that with the other person, and so then they can't carry the load that you expect them to carry, and everything starts to fall apart. So, regrettably, a large number of people approach this thing in a way that avoids challenges and difficulties. Like, they're afraid of getting into the shit, so they kind of take the easy route, and instead of searching for the path that's going to get them to build their character, to get them into a place where they're super strong and can handle all sorts of hard situations, they opt out and they opt instead for the path that's the least resistance. So, the first thing to start working on when you're really, when you want to build your character, build strength in the ability to have a dating relationship, is to exit the whole path of least resistance thing. Like, you don't want to find the easy route. You want to find the hard route, specifically because it's going to make you more adaptable. It's going to make you better at it. You want to do hard shit. And I don't mean like go into relationships where you're being abused so that you can maintain and, keep your codependent status and just get really, really, really good at closing off and using all sorts of coping mechanisms. I mean things that are new that you would rather shy away from, that you haven't mastered and you're kind of afraid of. Like, when you have a way you go about doing things that you're kind of used to, even if it's painful, and staying in a relationship that you know is not good for you, and ignoring the red flags, stuff like that. That's not what I mean by taking the hard route. What I mean is when something comes up and you're like, okay, well, I need to communicate to my partner or communicate to this new person that I'm dating that I got a boundary with it, but I'd rather not because I don't want to see how they're going to react. Then you kind of shy away from that, and it doesn't make you able to kind of step up and stand up for yourself and get your needs met. And if you're the leader type in the relationship, then you don't meet the entire relationship's needs when you kind of lay back and don't take responsibility, and then that will inevitably erode your self-concept and erode your ability to stand up for yourself in the future, and just make it harder. And then you can't, when it really matters, you can't step up and shut things down, or need or kind of force the issue of communication, negotiation when it's necessary, and then the relationship falls apart. So we're going to kind of discuss 5 ways to become more resilient in dating. It's going to allow you to kind of step out of your comfort zone and finally go after the relationship that you've been dreaming of. First stage, to get rid of this whole path of least resistance thing, you want to seek out discomfort. You want to find places in your relationship where it's going to be a little scary, a little bit challenging, and then go headlong into it. When it comes to dating, our natural inclination is to steer clear of all the little situations that make us feel awkward, even if it's stand up for ourselves, like I was talking about with boundaries. In the long run, it's in our best interest to force ourselves to engage in activities that are unchallenging and unpleasant, because it goes against our natural instincts, because we kind of map everything to survival. If if a situation is going to feel awkward, then we might feel, abandonment or attachment issues, or we might feel like we're going to die because our caretakers didn't give us the right stuff when we were 5. When it comes to developing resilience in dating, one of the most important practices you can cultivate is the habit of actually seeking out situations that make you feel uncomfortable and then dealing with them in real time. Because as you experience the real world, your map of the world and the map of your internals, on like what you're going to put up with, what you're going to be skilled at. Sometimes you surprise yourself in the face of adversity by standing up and doing what you need to do, because you're being challenged, and then your natural self kind of comes to the forefront, and you see that stuff. And the more accurate you are to your own self-concept, to see how you actually fare in uncomfortable situations, then the better you are at being able to accurately predict your behavior in the future when more uncomfortable things start to happen. If you think about the things that you ought to be doing, that you kind of should be doing, but you find an excuse to avoid, then you're going to be able to find it. Like do an exercise right now and be like, okay, what am I doing in my approaches, or what am I doing in my relationship that kind of steers clear of awkwardness but wouldn't kill me, right? Obviously, if you're avoiding, like one of my students right now, he calls me every week and we talk, and I talk him through, tactics and strategies or whatever. And he's like, still has a problem approaching new people. And, we've reframed it a couple of times, but he kind of wants to ignore that and keep it for himself so that he can not have to do the hard work of the next level of holding a conversation and generating attraction and holding sexual tension and all the stuff that he knows is coming. If he just kind of throws it all out with the bathwater and says, okay, if I don't approach her, then I don't have to deal with all that pain, and then I can just sit here and whine about the fact that I'm afraid of approaching people, then he's avoiding the situation that's going to make him better. Like, you go out and approach 100 people, you're going to lose that fear really quickly, just progressive desensitization, and you're probably going to see the world in a more accurate way than you did before. If you're afraid of approaching, and then you realize that when you approach people in a non-creepy way, that they're generally going to talk to you and they're generally going to show interest, and sometimes they might be even attracted to you, then it starts to rewrite what you know about the world and what you think that you're capable of. But if you avoid it, then you never get to move down that path. So if you think about the things that you should be doing, and you're finding an excuse to avoid, like this guy comes up with all of these excuses. It's like, oh, it was raining, so I couldn't do it outside, and I'm not familiar with pubs, so I don't go in the pub, and nightclubs are too loud, and then so if I found all these people in the coffee shop, and there's some people that I actually liked, but then it's just really awkward to talk to somebody in the daytime that isn't on the street, and then I got coffee, I made a comment, and then this girl didn't think that I should have been there, so I just kind of bowed out early, and like all this stuff. I get flooded with this kind of stuff when I get really new clients who have a lot of approach anxiety. They like they just come up with every excuse ever. It's like, oh yeah, I wasn't wearing my jacket and my arms were cold and I didn't want them to see like like me shivering, and it's just dumb. Or it's not dumb. It's pretty what's the word? Like, it's pretty phenomenal how your mind can come up with so many excuses of this thing that you think is going to kill you. Like, it's like fighting for its own survival, but you're really just saying hi to some person that could be your wife or your partner for a while, and you could be the mother of your kids, but you don't want to say hi because you're afraid she's going to say no. And it's like it's really ridiculous if you look at it logically. And if you actually go out and talk to people, you're going to figure out that like they don't all say no. And you can get a pretty rich dating life by going out there and generating the skills to carry the conversation. So, just like that example, you're undoubtedly aware that you have some unpleasant tasks that you avoid because they're going to make you feel awkward. And if you complete them, you're gonna get a lot of benefit out of it. You're gonna be able to do the things that you wish you could do that you see other people do. If you put it another way, becoming resilient is voluntarily confronting uncomfortable situations head on, rather than just coming up with another excuse to put off what needs to be done. When I first started in the dating scene, I hired a coach, and he took me on his little workshop. And I just gotten out of this long 7-year relationship, and I didn't have a lot of self-worth in that space because I thought, oh, I just kind of left my soulmate to some unreconcilable differences, and I don't know if I'm going to actually connect with anybody else. And so I said, you know what, I'm going to hire an expert. I'd already done the whole Tony Robbins stuff. I've done a lot of self-development stuff throughout my life, and so I was like, all right, I'm going to find somebody who does this stuff. I'm going to hire him, and I did. And the very first thing they told me was, look, man, just do what we tell you to do so that you can get the reference experiences, what's going on in the real world and how you actually respond. Because it's really easy to sit back and think that you have a certain level of skill if you don't test it in the real world. Like, oh yeah, no, I could really get any girl if I wanted to. I just, not feeling it right now. But tomorrow, maybe I'll go talk to somebody. Like, and you can kind of lie to yourself that you're better than you are, and that you have the skills and the faculties down deep here that you haven't practiced. And so even if you have the ability to connect with another human, because we're all doing that innately because we're a social species, we haven't honed it, we haven't practiced it. So the chances that you're gonna make it go the way that you want right out the gate without a lot of practice and around seeing where the reference experience is, then those chances are very super low. Like, so I went to this workshop, and the very first thing they told me was just to get the reference experiences so you know who you are. And so that's what I did. And the entire structure back then of a workshop was find the hardest things you can do. Kind of like they gave us like a scavenger hunt list, where it's like, talk to a girl on an escalator, and by the time you get to the top of the escalator, try to get her number. Or talk to a girl who's trying something on in a mirror, out in the store, like girls who like hats or sunglasses or whatever. And there was like, talk to a girl who's with her family, talk to, like they gave us all these like missions. And when you did the missions, you were intentionally trying to take situations that you would have lots of excuses for, and bang yourself up against them, and then figure out how you adapted. And very often the world didn't respond the way that you expected it to, that confirmed your fears. Rather, it responds the other way, where the the girl who's interested makes it known, and the girl who wants to reject you is just, it doesn't hurt that bad. And there's all these things that that happen when you go out and you actually try in the real world. So I that changed my life, going out and doing that. And I started doing that in business. I started doing that with my corporate job at the time. I started doing that with sports. When I got into jiu-jitsu, and I started just trying shit that I was afraid to try before. And it worked out really well. Just sitting in that zone of, just outside your comfort zone is super useful for building the character of being able to handle shit in the future. Second thing that you can do to start building your resilience in dating is to solidify your why. Solidify your why, your purpose. Figure out why you want to do something. It's super important to be aware of the reasons that you're doing something in the first place. Because if you have a deep rooted conviction of why you're doing something in the first place, a lot of the adversity that comes across, you're going to be able to handle much easier. You're not going to let your mind spiral into all the negative possibilities. You're gonna not be as critical when you have a misstep. If you do something really hard just to be uncomfortable and not know why you're doing it or where you're going with it, then you're likely to fail. And so you want to choose things that are outside of your comfort zone, but also that move you towards a goal that's better than where you are now. I did a video like, I don't know, 4 days ago or something on how to find your purpose, and it had a lot of airy, very like self-help stuff in there about like, oh yeah, check out your interests and do a lot of testing, and yeah, that's great. But for specifically when you're dealing with adversity, you want to know like, okay, if I just push through this, I'm going to get this result at the end. And if you know your why, what was that guy, Viktor Frankl? He said, a guy with any man with a strong enough why can withstand any how, something like that. That's the quote. And so right now, sit down and take some time to think about something that makes you super uncomfortable that you always seem to put off. And so consider the thought process that led to this task rather than the challenges that it presents. So if you think about, oh my God, it's got all these holes in it, and I don't necessarily want to do it this way. I got to make sure that I'm well slept or whatever. Like don't think about the challenges. Think about, okay, the process that led you there. Figuring out why. Okay, why did I want to do this in the first place? Like that guy who just hired me, he's like, I want to expand my sexual repertoire with a woman that I want. And I said, okay, so now you have to go talk to new women because you can't just keep running into people at work, And so if he, in the moment when he has to go, talk to somebody, if he remembered that like, oh yeah, as I move forward in this stuff, I'm going to get to this place where I'm skilled enough to do kind of whatever I want and kind of break the insecurities that I have and keep me from moving. So if he kept that in mind, if he keeps the why in mind, why overcoming the challenges is more important than keeping yourself safe. If you want to develop resilience and you want to develop character in this thing, finding your why is pretty essential. If you want to have a successful dating life, you need to do this. So, story time. Very, very often I do things because of the ADHD and the hyperfocus part of me. I go super hardcore into choosing goals that are going to test me, right? And one time I decided, okay, I'm going to do 100 YouTube videos straight every day, just for the sake of doing them. And I didn't have a educational reason. I didn't really have I wasn't answering any questions from anybody that wanted to know. I just wanted to put my face out there and prove that I could do it. And yeah, that gave me a lot of skills to be able to kind of sit in front of camera, think off the top of my head and talk. But it didn't really get me anywhere as far as results because I didn't have any results in mind. The idea was just to like do the work to prove that I could do the work. And it was kind of a vestige from vestigial thing from college where they would make you do these things that had no bearing in the real world, and then they give you a award for it. You get a good grade, or you get accolades in a class of people who you're never going to see again, right? Like they trained us to do stupid bullshit and then feel proud of ourselves for the fact that we just got through it. And sure, that's great. But if you have a why behind it, like if you're like, okay, I'm gonna shoot, like on this new batch, we're decided to shoot a video every day till the end of the year. But we have a structure, like we're trying to talk about things that interrelate with each other, that relate to the products that we're releasing, relate to the coaching that we do. So that if you're interested in what I'm talking about here and you want to work on it more, you can reach out and we can help you with the business, and we can also help you with our world of experience in this stuff. So these videos aren't just like randomly thrown at the wall. They're part of a larger structure that's trying to get the word out there that we are able to kind of break this stuff down and help you understand it. And the people who watch these videos and all the way through, they're our ideal clients. They align well with them because they want to sit through them, right? And yeah, it doesn't mean I shouldn't continue to build my skill of presentation and making things clearer and not running off on tangents every 5 minutes. But I know why I'm doing this, and so when, like right now, it's 2 o'clock in the morning, and I need to get this video out, but I'm not like, oh no, I got to do this thing, and no, it's still structured. It's still trying to be educational. It's still trying to help the world with the concepts that are in here, so that we can build stronger people and better communicative dating partnerships. That's the whole point of what we're doing. So my why kind of pushes through all of that. Oh, I didn't really want to. I could just shoot it tomorrow. It's like nobody's actually watching anyway. Da 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 da. All that stuff. That's not the point. The point at the end of the day is to flood the market with so much deep, long form content that we basically leave a legacy. And if I get hit by a bus, at the end of the year, I will have left, at least whatever 160 something hours of content on the internet so that everybody can still learn from me when I'm dead. Like, that's the point. So it keeps me moving forward. So yeah, that's the know your why. The third thing that you can do to work on your resilience right now, and this is just the beginning. I have like 25 different resilience based videos that I'm about to shoot. So you'll see a lot of nuances in different areas, but just in dating, to work on your resilience, keep your ego in check. Like, you do you for you and yours. Like, don't worry about whether or not you live up to some sort of weird societal standard, whether you're making everybody around you happy, whether you got haters in the wings. There's a lot of people who avoid difficult situations in dating out of fear that other people are going to evaluate them. I don't know how many times one of my clients says, oh yeah, I can approach a girl if she's by herself, but if there's people around watching, I get nervous and I want to do it. Or if she's with a friend who might judge me, I don't want to do it. Like, the term try hard comes with a total pejorative connotation in today's society. It's, people don't want to look like they suck, so they also don't want to look like they're trying really hard not to suck. And you got to get past this idea. Like, you don't want to look like a tryhard in being accepted in a social group. That's in the new book. But when you don't know something, like if you start playing soccer, right, and you don't know how to play soccer, you don't have the balance, you don't run all that much, you don't know how to kick a ball and make it go in the direction you want it to, you're just gonna suck. Like, any skill, when you start building it, like, you're not gonna perform at the super high level. And so you got to kind of let go of the fact that, or you got to let go of the thought that other people are going to judge you for doing things poorly when you actually are doing things poorly because you don't have the skills. Like, work on the skills, get better, then they won't judge you anymore, right? Like, it doesn't matter. You got to get past that idea that this is kind of a practice run or an exercise for the real thing. Just do it. If you know your why and it's strong enough, then fuck being good at it. Do whatever it takes to get over, under, or around the obstacles that you're facing. You're only going to be in this world for a short period of time. Like, you're going to die at some point. And even if you live to the ripe old age of 110, you're still, it's not that long, right? And there's going to come a day where you look back and you regret the fact that you didn't go after what you wanted, despite the opinions of others. At a certain point, as you move forward in life, as you grow older, you're not gonna care about the people who are talking shit. It just doesn't work anymore. I think it was about 4 or 5 years ago where it wasn't anything I did specifically. I just stopped giving a fuck about most people's opinions. Like I'd watched people who I thought were cool and were always going to be successful tell me I was doing things wrong, and then their lives turned to shit. And I've watched it happen. I've watched guys or girls who would reject me because they didn't think I was good enough get caught in a relationship that is far worse than they would have had with me. And like, you start to realize that like other people's opinions are just as uninformed as yours is. And if you choose to educate yourself, you're starting to actually move forward ahead of the pack. And so, like, watching videos like this, reading the books, tracking down your mentors, getting coaching, all those kind of activities are going to make you smarter and better and more ready for the world than most of the humanity who's just kind of like distracting themselves and getting by. So if your ego comes up and says, "Oh no, I want to look perfect," or "I want to do it so that people don't judge me," or whatever, ego and resilience don't get along all that well. Like, it's absolutely necessary to maintain a sense of resilience despite your ego. Like, you know what, I'm gonna do the hard shit. I might suck. Let's just do it. One of my old coaches, Tim, he's like, you know, everybody tells me I don't want to be creepy. I don't want to be creepy. So I'm just gonna stand here and just try to be cool. And I'm gonna talk to these dudes and whatever. But like, fuck it, just go. Like, so he would do this thing where he'd go like this and he'd be like, "Let's get our creep on. Come on, it's time to go talk to strangers," right? And then we'd go and it would be hilarious. And because of the way that we framed it in our brains, like, it was hilarious and it wasn't creepy, and people would think it was more fun than whatever they got going on. So we started opening, and even when something bad happened, we didn't take it seriously and let it fuck our whole night up. We just kept moving forward because we didn't let our ego tell us or limit us in our ability to go out and do stuff. You know, I used to always be like, "Oh, yeah, but I need to be awesome, and if people don't see me as awesome, then I don't want to do it." And it's like, fuck it. Like, people see you as free, and that's way better as far as getting perceived as awesome. Yeah, so don't shy away from failure. It builds your character. There's no getting around the fact that failure is a natural and necessary component of the dating process. It's a significant amount of trial and error involved in order to achieve proficiency in dating, because you're two separate people with two separate things of trauma and two separate experiences of life coming together and try to figure out a match. Like, you got to try a lot so that you know yourself well enough to be able to communicate that stuff effectively, and you know how to deal with other people's things that you don't necessarily other people's traumas, other people's experiences that don't necessarily mesh with your value systems. You got to be able to communicate those things, negotiate those things, and then move forward with a partner against the suffering of the world. So there's a lot of trial and error. Like, it's not like necessarily a numbers game. There is kismet, there is soulmates. I think there's good timing. There's all this stuff that's available. But at the end of the day, if you don't go out, you're going to go talk to people because you're avoiding failure, then when that perfect person comes across, you're never going to pull up the skills out of your bat belt. You know, everybody, they have this weird trope that's like, you know, love finds you when you're least looking for it, or when you're least ready for it, or, you know, when you're not looking for it, that's when it comes hit you in the face. It's like, you think the universe is waiting for you to stop trying to give you what you wanted? Okay, I see what you're saying with the manifestation thing. I see what you're saying with the whole, you know, if you focus on lack, then you maintain lack. Okay, that's a different concept. If you don't go out and meet people, you're not going to meet the new people that you need to meet, and you're not going to be able to have the skills to handle the person that's going to match you over the long term. Yeah, you can get smacked in the eyes with infatuation and have good puppy love stage with, you know, with a pretty good amount of regularity. You can go out and fall in love all day if you want, and it's fine. But if you really want to be able to communicate with that person, get your boundaries, communicate your boundaries, get your needs met, get her needs met, their needs met, you have to be able to build that skill of communication and do the hard shit when you know it's good for you. So don't shy away from failure, because it teaches you how to act, teaches you how to handle adversity. And yeah, like I said, I'm not pushing you to go get into an abusive relationship and just weather the abuse. That's not what I mean. I mean, if you want to have some satisfying romantic connection, you should expect to face roadblocks and challenges, and then have the pride of actually getting over those roadblocks and challenges. You're building resiliency every time you experience a setback, whether it be a failed date or a failed relationship or a failed approach, and you choose not to let it stop you from moving forward. If you do fail, which you will do, just take it as an opportunity to learn and how to fail more successfully next time. Rest assured, it's beyond the rest assured, beyond the last failure is a hard-earned success. You're going to be super proud of yourself when you put yourself through the learning process that it takes to see the world more clearly and to see yourself more clearly. Once you have experienced things in the real world, there's a certain thing that you just can't get out of a book or from a video. Like, you can't just do what the mentors say and then like get what the mentors say you're going to get. No, you got to apply yourself in the real world, and then you're going to be super proud of yourself that you did the work and you earned the skill set that you have. The last thing to kind of focus on when you're building resilience for dating, especially as a beginner, is that self-talk is everything. You can frame your own success story. I think it was Tony Robbins. He said, "What you focus on expands," and I think that's where I learned it. One of his seminars. If you want to become more resilient in dating, you got to communicate with yourself in a positive and compassionate mental way. You have to love yourself. You have to care for yourself. You have to communicate with yourself with compassion. So many people go through dating berating themselves for every shortcoming that they make, every shortcoming that they make, every mistake that they make. They would just be like, "Oh man, you fucked up again. Yeah, you're never gonna find a girl." And all your self-talk is just taking you out of the knees. And that kind of self-talk is not only unproductive, like it doesn't actually do anything. It doesn't motivate you to be better as far as behaviorally, but it also erodes your self-confidence and your resilience. Like, if you had built up any resilience before and then you start talking shit to yourself, you don't have any resilience in the past or in resilience in the future. And so it erodes your self-confidence. It erodes your sorry, somebody was calling me. And so it erodes. So okay. You need to learn how to have a constructive and encouraging dialogue with yourself if you want to become more resilient. And when it comes to dating, like, you got to be able to be like, you have to be able to say, okay, there's something to learn out of this. I did it in a way that did not give me the result that I wanted, but I did learn something here, and next time I'm going to try it like this, and we're going to see how we can iterate to make things better the next time. Instead of being hard on yourself for every mistake that you make, you should concentrate on what you learned and how you can improve for the future. You bring your attention back to the objectives you set for yourself, knowing your why, and then the reasons that you're putting in the effort. And then if you talk to yourself in a constructive manner and you're like, okay, all right, that was good. We can make it better this way. We can take it further next time this way. Then you're going to develop the self-assurance, the tenacity necessary to push through the challenges and circumstances and through the adversity that you're going to experience. So to summarize this all, I'm talking about building dating resilience, just starting out. Developing resilience in dating, it takes both time and effort. Not as much time as you might think if you apply yourself. It takes a lot of effort, and it requires a willingness to seek out discomfort, to put yourself in the discomfort zone, figure out why you're doing it in the first place so that it kind of drives you through, keeping your ego in check and not shying away from failure, kind of welcoming those experiences. And then once everything happens, talk to yourself in a way that is compassionate and not takes you out of the knees. If you follow this stuff, then you're going to be able to build resilience that you need, step over step over step over step as you iterate and navigate the ups and downs of dating, and ultimately find the satisfying relationship that you've been searching for. That's it. Yeah. How to start building resilience in dating. Tomorrow we're going to do another resilience-based episode, and I will be happy to see you then. We do this every damn day, so I'll see you tomorrow. And until then, stay awesome.